my version says, "Tell the truth." That's what the next section says.
Yeah, my version says Jesus forbids oaths.
Oh,
Yeah. So I read that title. I was like, oh, I know
oh Lord.
a lot of
See,
people are not gonna like this section.
see, Lord, why you can just prepare me? Dang it.
All right. So Jesus forbids oaths. Again, you have heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not swear falsely, but shall perform your oath to the Lord. But I say to you, do not swear at all, neither by heaven, for it is God's throne, nor by the earth, for it is his footstool, nor by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great king. Nor shall you swear by your head, because you cannot make one hair white or black. But let your eyes be, or let your yeses be yeses, and your noes be noes. For whatever is more than these is from the evil one. Okay. Now, um, like as I
Uh,
kind of ponder through these,
mm,
that opening verse, you shall not swear falsely. Um, man, that makes me think what can fit under swearing falsely, which to me, I kind of put curse words under there. Yeah, and I say curse words because that's the original. We say in modern times cuss words, but it's curse words. Because what I can remember always being told growing up, as the tongue does have power, that's you cursing somebody. So I do believe those fit under swear falsely. Um, but I don't have too many examples that I would probably use, not that comes to the top of my head right now, that would fit under that. Because I think that plays a big part on how people speak today.
Yeah.
Um, do they swear or do they swear falsely?
Right.
mhm.
Um, I think
Or
I would want to kind of dive into that a little bit more for understanding.
or it can be like, like people would be like, because I like, or like when people be like, oh, like I swear to God, you know what I'm saying?
Oh
Like
yeah,
you're,
yeah,
That's
that,
you know what I'm
that.
saying?
that's
Yep.
that's a
Like
Yep.
curse. Yeah, because
Yep.
right.
that's the same as cursing.
It's like, so it's like it seems like that's like, or I can all you can also say like, when it comes to like let your yeses or yeses and your nos be nos, right? Like you ever met anyone that kind of just like if you ask them for something and they say yes on it and they never end up doing it, right? And now it's one thing when life happens, right? And it's like, oh, I'm sorry, just forget. But then you ever met someone that's like, dude, like I've asked you this like multiple times, respectfully, and it's like you always say it, but you don't end up like just doing it. Like if you don't want to do it, then you could say no, if that makes sense. Like you could. I always think it's like be a person of be a man of your word. Be a person of your word. When you say yes to something, honor that. When you say no to something, stand on that.
Hmm.
Because it's definitely it's definitely okay to say no to things. It's definitely okay to say no to things, right? Like you should never be anyone's yes man because because that just means you're like a nice person. There's nothing wrong, and there's nothing wrong being like a nice person. I'm what I'm saying is that there's a difference when it's like you're being a nice person when it's like you're saying yes, oh yeah, 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 but then like you're someone that's kind of standing on that, but like because it's if it crosses your boundaries, right? If it crosses um certain things that you stand on, right? Especially biblical standards that you stand on, right? It's like no, I'm not. I can't do that. I won't do that because it'll essentially compromise my relationship with the Lord, and I don't want to compromise it. Um,
Yeah.
Man, like I read through this like two more times. Um, like as you read 34 through 36, um, I I mean, I guess those are the examples. Like I just had to put my modern time examples to the biblical text.
Right.
So like when it says do not swear neither by heaven, for that is God's throne.
Hmm.
Modern times is and I'll put that on God. So like
Right.
that's
Oh
Right.
man, yeah.
Right.
that's swearing by heaven. So and that's not what you're supposed to do. And then when I think about nor by the earth, like man, I put that on my mom, man. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
the definition of swearing by earth, which you're
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
not supposed to do. Nor do you swear by your head because you cannot make one hair white or black, meaning that and this one is kind of new. Like when I think about it, it's like putting stuff on yourself, which is kind
Mm-hmm.
of ties back to the example
Mm-hmm.
Larry was given early. Like if you say something, just stand on it, which
Yeah.
ties back into 37. And this is where my core thought process has dwelled down to let your yeses and your yeses, let your yeses be yes, and let your no's be no. And a couple of things come to mind for that. Believe it or not, without me understanding it, this is the perfect description of why I switched my major in college from math to communications.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
this is like just sums it up perfectly what I was thinking in my mind because I was thinking like, man, I want to be able to communicate clearly so people understand what I say, what I mean, and I know how to articulate myself. So like, and now, and I'm happy to be able to see this now. Like, okay, there's a good reason why I went from the thing I like doing because I like numbers, and that ties into a whole lot of things on this earth, but that is worldly compared to communicating, which is people to people, which we're supposed to be about the people. So I do like that. I can realize that now. But one good example of this is, I mean, there's too many examples of this. Like in a way, shape and form, some slang terms can go against this. Um, uh, uh, to be, I dare to think that maybe a little bit of white lies. I think
Mm.
I think
Yeah.
some white lies could probably dig down into this,
Yeah.
because they can have a manipulative purpose, a deceitful
Yeah.
purpose. So when it says let your yes be yes, that means say what you mean and mean what you say. And that's just something a lot of people can't do because they'll say what they mean and have an underlying meaning under it, waiting to
Hmm.
be executed. So yeah, man, there's so much that can be applied to this section alone, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think just keeping my breakdown quick as you guys were speaking, I was looking more into it. And a passage that I found adds a little bit more context. It says just making an effort to provide the simple truth. That's one of the things. It's like just making a clear effort to provide the simple truth. And it also mentioned what I thought was important is that if you strive at being truthful, you should never really have to ever make an oath. If you strive at just being truthful, you shouldn't have to make an oath.
Hmm.
Something that I found provides a little bit more context, and it says Jesus in the law. Jesus was building on the Old Testament command, "You shall not swear falsely by my name, so as to profane the name of your God. I am the Lord." A misinterpretation of this is religious leaders would distort the law, allowing people to make false oaths using other names like heaven, the temple, or the altar, while avoiding the direct name of God, creating a loophole for dishonesty. So, say, somebody trying to say, well, I put that on, I'll put that, maybe I'll put that on I put that on, my church or something instead of God. Like I put that on church, thinking that, oh, it's not as harmful. It still feels like it has credibility because I'm putting it on something that is, something that is worthy, but I'm not putting it on directly on God. I'll put that on my church. You
You
know, so people try to use sly ways to get away with it. And I'll say this: when people would say things like, "Oh, I put that on my kid's grave," like if they had a child that passed, I would kind of cringe a little bit. Like, why would you put that on your, anything on your kid's grave? Or I put that on my grandma, my dead grandma. Cross my heart, hope to die. Like, why would you do something like that?
That's perfect example for 36. Cross my heart,
Yeah,
die.
yeah,
That's the perfect
yeah.
example right there. Because you
Mm-hmm.
cannot alter your own, even if it is your own body, your choice, you can't directly alter that type of stuff
Mm-hmm.
about you. So you shouldn't be swearing on yourself just as much as your family or God.
Right,
So
right,
that was a
or how
right.
people be like, or like another one could be like in something that like I used to hear a lot would be like, oh, I put that on my dead homies. You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
that's
like
Mm-hmm.
Mother Earth. That's Mother
yeah.
Earth. I swear,
Oh
Mother
yeah.
Earth.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And then lastly, just ending off, it says the problem with oaths is people swore by things not under their control to make their promises seem more binding. But Jesus saw this as a manipulative practice that undermined honesty. So it just seems like we go back to people swearing on things of the earth. Put that on my mom's grave, or I put that on my grandpa's grave. Like you mentioned, put that on my dead homie, something like that. People would say that, and it truly undermines honesty. I know we all struggle. Again, I mentioned earlier, the flesh is weak. We all struggle with things like that, things like honesty and being forthcoming. And whether it be because you're like, I don't want to hurt this person's feelings, or, I just don't want anyone to find this out about me. We all struggle with that honesty. But I think I believe that in Christ you can find truth and you find deliverance. And you ask and you say, you humble yourself and you ask God to please deliver me from this, that I will be able to be more truthful and to live through you truthfully, because he's there to walk you through it step by step and hold your hand every step of the way. But a lot of times we feel like I'm going to do this because not being so forthcoming, not being honest is easier than having to deal with what I could possibly go through if I were to be honest. So there's
Mm,
just a food for thought to think about, as for our audience, anyone tuning in, is just to understand that you are not doing this alone. You go with Christ at the end of the day.
absolutely, absolutely. Okay.
Oh, let
I,
me let me let me throw just to put a question out there, not for us to answer right now, but
okay.
put in the minds of anybody that comes across this video.
Alrighty.
Um, the title says Jesus forbids oaths. So go and do your research on what an oath is and ask yourself anytime you have to make any type of a deal. Now, does this fall under the contents of a of an oath?